Prologue, True Power Release Summary. When Orochimaru places the 5-element seal on Naruto, he unleashes Naruto's true self. Watch as Naruto takes the world by storm. I do not own Naruto. Prologue, True Power Released. 5-element seal! Pain. That's all Naruto felt as he fell unconscious. They had just dealt with a hidden rain ninja when a gust of wind separated them. After dealing with a massive snake, he found his teammates cowering from the killing intent of a hidden grass ninja. Now Naruto wasn't stupid, no matter how much one would say otherwise. He knew the grass nin was just toying with him. He stopped the ninja from doing some weird jutsu that extended his neck. That's when everything went downhill. Rather than stay and help him, his teammates left him while he was fighting. The grass ninja, who was Orochimaru in disguise, watched as Naruto fell to the forest floor. The boy had held his own for several minutes against him, no small feat for a genin, and the child had caught him off guard several times. He had always had an eye for talent, and Naruto's unpredictability and usage of shadow clones showed him that the boy was definitely talented. Writing a message on a scroll, he left to find the boy's teammates. After all, he had an Uchiha to mark. If he had stayed longer, he would have noticed Naruto's hair change color. In Naruto's mindscape, Naruto woke up and realized immediately that he was not in the forest. Great! First my team abandons me, and now I'm unconscious in a forest full of flesh-eating plants. Naruto grumbled as he walked down the halls of his mindscape. As he turned a corner, he paled. There was a gate clearly designed to lock something away. The only problem was, the bars were slowly disappearing. Seems you've realized the problem. A voice spoke from within the cage. Kyuubi, Naruto said, worried. What's happening? The fox looked at Naruto. To understand what is going on, you must first understand my origins. Do not interrupt me once I start. Naruto eyed the fox warily, but nodded. The fox started to glow a bright red and shrink. After a minute, the glow died down, and Naruto froze. Before him was no longer a demon fox, but a man. He was 5 feet 10 inches with spiky crimson hair that stopped at his lower back. His eyes were a dark purple. He wore a black form-fitting, long-sleeved shirt and black pants with red stripes on the sides. White cloth was wrapped around his right leg in a spiral pattern. He had an odd sword strapped to his side. The blade was 3 feet long and had an odd circular shape at the base that bent inwards at the hilt. It had a glowing orange streak that outlined the edge. A/N. Exalted Falchion from Fire Emblem Awakening. I do not own Fire Emblem. What had caused Naruto to freeze was the 3 whisker-like markings on his face. Markings unique to himself. And no way. Naruto stuttered. Yes, kid, I am you. More specifically, half of you, the Kyuubi said. How? Naruto asked with wide eyes. When you were born, your chakra was so strong, your subconscious split it in 2. You retained your yang or dark chakra, while your yin or light chakra became me. However, being just chakra without a mind, I ended up rampaging in the village. Our father, Minato Namikaze, realized this and sealed me inside your mindscape. The connection to your subconscious gave me a consciousness of my own. The seal was designed to eventually merge us back together at the age of 16. That grass ninja's jutsu damaged the seal, resulting in us merging now. Kyuubi explained. So in summary, you and I are halves of each other and merging because our dad didn't take a well-known sealing jutsu into account. Yep. What's going to change about me? You will be physically identical to me. Mentally, you will be colder, less forgiving, less naive, more brutal in combat, and harsher in your opinion of others. Great. I'm going to be the exact opposite of myself. Well, let's go find my teammates. They need an ass-kicking big time. As the cage finally vanished, Naruto and Kyuubi started glowing. Back in the forest of death, Naruto found himself sitting on a tree branch. He stood up and looked himself over. He was indeed identical to his other half in appearance. He even had the sword. Noticing the scroll laying next to him, he checked it for traps. Finding none, he opened it. Naruto Uzumaki, my name is Orochimaru. I was impressed you managed to last as long as you did. I look forward to seeing how you grow. Orochimaru, realizing that Orochimaru did not stick around to notice the changes, he sped off to find his team. Chapter 1. It was a rather disturbing sight that Naruto came across when he found his team. Sakura was a mess, Team 10 was stock still, Lee was unconscious, and Sasuke was beating the crap out of the Sound team from the first exam while covered in black, flame-like markings. What a mess! Naruto sighed. While he had no problem with Sasuke beating the Sound team, he knew it was only a matter of time before Sasuke turned to the others. Deciding to end the fight before others got hurt, he jumped down from the tree he was in. "Sasuke, that's enough!" he shouted. "Naruto, don't get in my way," Sasuke said. Everyone was shocked by Naruto's changes and the harsh tone when he shouted. They were even more shocked at Naruto's response. One moment Sasuke is holding the spiky-haired Sound Genin by the throat, and the next he is on his knees. "I said that's enough?" Naruto spoke. The cold, sharp edge to his tone made everyone flinch. Sasuke threw a right hook at his face. Now, if it was the same Naruto as before, it might have landed. But this Naruto was stronger. When he merged with his other half, he trained in his mindscape as he could control the flow of time there. Catching Sasuke's punch, Naruto pulled him forward, landing a harsh kick to his gut, knocking him back several feet. As Sasuke flipped to his feet, Naruto went through some hand signs and called out, "Vapor style, solid fog!" From his mouth an acid-like mist headed towards Sasuke. Activating his Sharingan, he jumped into the trees. The acidic mist began to eat away at trees and plants it touched. Naruto appeared behind Sasuke, striking him on the back of his neck. Sasuke fell to the ground unconscious. Naruto made a clone to carry Sakura, while he picked up Sasuke. He turned to Team 10 and spoke. "I suggest you get to the tower as soon as possible." Team 10 just nodded as Naruto left. 4 days later at the tower. After Naruto had opened the scrolls he had gotten from a hidden stone ninja, he simply relaxed for the remaining time. Now he was in the main room of the tower with the other teams. The teams that passed were the Hidden Sound team, Kabuto's team, Team 10, Team 8, the Hidden Sand team, Team 9, and Team 7. This meant with 21 genin, there would be preliminary rounds. He tuned out the third Hokage's speech until a sickly-looking Jonin jumped down. The fights up to Naruto's are canon. If you want to see them, watch the actual anime. That was pathetic, Naruto drawled. Sakura and Ino's fight had been more like a schoolyard brawl than a shinobi battle. Kakashi looked over at him. "Be nice." "She did her best." Naruto stared blankly at him, making him nervous. He had never seen the boy stare at him with so little emotion. Finally Naruto spoke. "If that was her best, then she is unfit to be a shinobi." That was embarrassing. The others had to agree. Sakura showed very little skill and was clearly a fangirl. After 6 months, Kakashi should have corrected that. So why was she so bad? Though if you had bothered to actually train her instead of favoring the Uchiha runt, maybe she wouldn't be so bad, Naruto admonished. That explains it. I did train her. Name one thing you taught her other than tree climbing. Why other than that? Because it was during a C rank turned A rank. You had no choice back then. Now name one. Now name one thing you taught me. Now here is what you taught Sasuke, and before you interrupt, I remember everything Sasuke knew during the academy. So by comparing that Sasuke to the current one, I can list off what you taught him. It is as such: the Dragon Flame Jutsu, Phoenix Flower Jutsu, fixing holes in his taijutsu, Genjutsu, Hell Viewing, Genjutsu, shackling stakes, how to use storage scrolls, and currently he is learning Chidori. Am I wrong on this? The other Jonin and Genin stared at Kakashi, wondering what possessed him to enter his team into the exams after showing such favoritism. Kakashi could only look away in shame. Just then the board stopped on 2 names. Naruto Uzumaki versus Kiba Inuzuka. "Alright, Akamaru! We got a free pass!" Kiba shouted. Akamaru looked over at Naruto nervously. He had sensed the teen's power. Kiba didn't stand a chance. Naruto grinned viciously. He would enjoy beating the mutt for how he treat him back at the academy. "Will Naruto Uzumaki and Kiba Inuzuka please come down?" the Proctor Hate Gecko said. They both entered the arena and stood across from each other. "This'll be over quickly," Kiba declared. 3 hits. "What? You will lose in 3 hits," Kiba growled. He sure as hell won't lose. Especially in 3 hits. Not to the dead last. Hate brought his hand down and jumped away. "Begin!" Kiba rushed forward, intent on ending it quickly. At the last second, Naruto grabbed Kiba's arm, twisting it sharply. A sickening crack heralded Kiba's broken arm. He stumbled backward, only to be hit twice in the chest, knocking him into the far wall. As he got up, Neji Hyuga, a member of Team 9, noticed something. Activating his bloodline, the Byakugan, he checked Kiba's chakra network. "His chakra points are blocked," he shouted. Everyone looked at him with wide eyes. Niji's teammate Tenten spoke first. "How?" Surprisingly, it was Naruto who answered. "The chakra points are fixed locations on the human body. By comparing my own physical structure to Kiba's, I can locate those points without a Byakugan," explained Naruto. Everyone gaped. They didn't think it was possible to strike chakra points without the Byakugan. Naruto walked up to Kiba. He looked down at his opponent with a bored look. "I'm disappointed." And with that, he struck the back of Kiba's neck, knocking him out. Silence. Absolute silence. Even Sakura was rendered speechless. The dead last had defeated Kiba in 3 hits. What shocked those who knew Naruto the most was his cold, harsh tone when he spoke to the Inuzuka. Everyone stared wide-eyed as Kiba was looked over by the medics. Sasuke was seething with his Sharingan active. Naruto was careful not to use any jutsu, knowing he could copy them. He began to go through hand signs. As Naruto turned to leave the arena, everyone sensed a buildup of chakra. Turning their heads towards Sasuke, they saw him land on the tiger seal. Before they could stop him, he called out, "Fire style, fireball jutsu!" A large fireball headed towards Naruto. As everyone shouted to get out of the way, Naruto kept walking. Just as the fireball was about to hit him, Naruto vanished. He reappeared behind Sasuke and kicked him into the arena. He jumped back into the arena and glared at the Uchiha. "Sasuke," Naruto growled. "I don't know what your problem is, but this needs to stop. First, you and Pinky, hey, abandoned me at the hands of Orochimaru, and now you attacked me for no reason? What the hell is wrong with you?" Sasuke stood up smirking. "It's not like I'll get punished for it. I can do what I want. The council practically worships me." The Hokage frowned. The council has no power over the exams and Sasuke is clearly unstable. The attack on his teammate is proof enough, so why wasn't he pulled out of the exams? He would have to speak to Kakashi later. For now, it seems Naruto and Sasuke need to work this out. He stood up and addressed the group. "It seems we will need to settle this here. Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki will fight." Hate landed between the boys and raised his hand. "If you're both ready, then begin," he spoke, jumping backwards. Sasuke stood there smirking. Naruto, on the other hand, reached out with his right hand as markings appeared on his palm. As the burst of smoke that followed vanished, he was now holding the sword that his yin half possessed. Everybody could feel the power coming off the blade. He strapped the sheath to his back and pulled out the sword. Sasuke was grinding his teeth. The dead last had a weapon that clearly held a lot of power. "Where did you get that?" he questioned. Naruto just ignored him, instead choosing to bite his thumb. Wiping his blood on the blade, it began to glow. The words he spoke next would haunt the Uchiha forever. "Cower, fool, before the power of the fox rods!" The glow became blindingly bright. When the glow died down, he was holding a different sword. It looked like 3 thin, green and yellow rods stuck side by side, with the middle one being longer than the others. The V-shaped hilt had 3 rods, with the bottom one in a spiral shape. The blade itself had 4 L-shaped protrusions on each side pointing upwards toward the tip. A/N, the Nine-Tails dark instrument from Okami. Sasuke shivered, feeling the malevolent aura from the weapon. It felt like the Shinigami was breathing down his neck. Pushing back his fear, he got out a kunai and took a fighting stance. In less than a second, Naruto closed the distance. With no time to react, Sasuke took a horizontal slash to the chest. He knew immediately that something was wrong. He was uninjured, but his chakra reserves dropped like a brick. His eyes widened. I see you figured it out. The Fox Rod's special ability doesn't cause physical injury, instead attacking the opponent's chakra network. It pushes the chakra out of the body, eventually leaving you with nothing. The severity of the physical injury equivalent determines the amount of chakra lost. Once the body completely runs out of chakra, they die from the final strike. Naruto explained. Quickly turning around, Sasuke lashed out with his kunai. Grabbing Sasuke's hand, Naruto drove the fox rods into his chest. Slashing upwards, Sasuke fell to his knees, feeling all but the bare minimum of his chakra leave him. Before he passed out, he heard Sakura screeching. Damned fangirls, he thought. As Sasuke was taken to the infirmary, the board cycled through names. Everyone tensed, wondering who would fight next. The board stopped on 2 names. Gaara versus Rock Lee. Seeing the names, Naruto went over to Lee and Guy. He knew taijutsu alone would likely not be enough. He had to warn them. Lee, don't be afraid to admit defeat, Naruto said. Guy looked confused, so Lee decided to voice the question. Why would I admit defeat? Gaara's a demon host, Naruto explained as Guy's eyes widened. Judging by the gourd on his back, he holds the sand spirit, Shikaku. The spirit grants its host the ability to control sand. It will come to his defense automatically when you attack. Furthermore, he can wear the sand like armor, making it even more difficult to injure him. While taijutsu could penetrate it with enough force, it might not be enough in the long run. Guy's eyes hardened. Having so little faith in your comrade's dash, it has nothing to do with faith. Naruto continued. The host is protected in a way that brute force just isn't enough. So why do you look so worried? Lee asked. If he wins, I could always challenge him outside the exams. The thing about Shikaku is that the raccoon's hosts have a record of insanity, Naruto explained with a grimace. A host of Shikaku suffers from severe insomnia. Add in the sand spirit screaming in his head 24/7 and anyone would lose it. If Gaara is truly insane, he won't hesitate to kill or maim Lee. If that happens, Lee's career would be over. Do you really want to risk it if taijutsu proves to be inadequate? Lee watched as Naruto went back to his teammates, thinking over his warning. Was he really willing to risk such an injury just to win a match? Although his ninja way includes never giving up, even he knows that some opponents have abilities that could indeed be too much for just taijutsu. Lee made his decision. He would fight, but if he is forced to use his main trump card, and it fails, then he would admit defeat. It wasn't worth losing his career over one match. Looking over at Guy, he saw that the man had come to the same conclusion. Jumping down to the arena floor, Lee stared his opponent. The gourd likely carried a small amount of sand. Quickly raising his hand, he caught something that Gaara threw. Lee noticed it was the cork from his gourd, and sand was pouring out. He looked Gaara in the eye. Why are you in such a hurry? Hate raised his hand. If you're both ready, he said. Then begin. Lee dashed forward, closing the distance within seconds. Jumping up, he called out, Leaf Hurricane! Spinning in the air, he lashed out with his right foot, only to find resistance in the form of a wall of sand. Jumping back, he studied his opponent. So, that's the sand shield Naruto warned me about. Lee thought he was right. It will not be easy to get through. Dashing forward once more, he struck out with a straight punch. Once more, the sand blocked the attack. Sending out several punches and kicks, each blocked by the sand, Lee found that the shield was indeed too strong for ordinary taijutsu. He jumped onto the top of the statue in the back of the arena. Looking to his sensei, he asked a silent question. When Guy nodded, Lee smiled. Reaching down, he took off his leg warmers, revealing several metal bars strapped to his legs. Kakashi looked over at Guy. Leg weights? Basic training equipment, he mused. Kankuro stared at Lee. Totally lame. Naruto tilted his head towards him with a feral grin, making the puppeteer nervous and several people back away slowly. Lee's stronger than he looks. You have no idea. He had seen the seals on the bars, recognizing them as weight seals. Level 6 weight seals to be exact. That was roughly 50 pounds for each bar, and there were 5 on each of Lee's legs. Lee stood up. "Ah, now I can move freely!" he exclaimed. Temari looked amused. "You think you'll be able to get past Gaara's defense by dropping a couple of pounds of weight?" Crash, what the dash! Kakashi's sweat dropped. "Guy, you are too much." The entire arena shook from the impact of the weights hitting the floor. Gaara started sweating. As insane as he was, the amount of weight Lee removed still raised several red flags with him. The boy was fast before, but now, for the first time, Gaara was actually wondering if he could make it out a fight unscathed. "Here I come!" Lee shouted. Jumping from his perch, Lee seemed to vanish. Appearing behind Gaara, he lashed out, his punch going straight through the sand shield, missing Gaara's head by inches. "South close!" Sakura shouted in awe. So fast, Kakashi thought. He was barely able to follow Lee's movements without his Sharingan. Gaara looked around frantically, trying to find his opponent. He had never seen anyone move so fast. Lee appeared above him, spinning like a saw blade. Slamming his right foot downward, it smashed into Gaara's forehead, the force behind the kick actually causing Demon Host to bend over. When Gaara looked up, he had a large gash down the left side of his head. Temari was shocked. "I don't believe it. Gaara's been hurt." "Impossible," Kankuro thought. He couldn't comprehend the fact that for the first time since birth, Gaara had been injured. Naruto grinned. "That had to hurt." Gaara focused his chakra. Channeling it into his sand, he coated himself with it. Lee noticed it. Realizing he would need to use his main trump card, he began unwrapping the bandages on his arms. When he finished, he crossed his arms in front of him, building up a large amount of chakra. Sakura was confused. She looked to Kakashi for answers, only to see an angry expression on his face. Looking over at Guy, she asked him what Lee was doing. "Lee is going to use his trump card," Guy answered. Kakashi's head turned towards him so fast it practically snapped. "No, Guy, you didn't." "Yes, Kakashi. I did." "You mean that boy, that genin, is able to open the 8 inner gates and unleash the primary and hidden lotus techniques?" Sakura became frustrated. She wanted a straight answer, not more questions. "All right, what are these 8 inner gates? And the lotus techniques?" Kakashi raised his headband, revealing his Sharingan eye. Analyzing Lee's chakra network, he began to explain. "There are gates along the chakra network, located at the points where the chakra is most heavily concentrated. Starting at the head, they are the gate of opening, the gate of rest, the gate of life, of pain, of closing, of joy, of shock, and the gate of death. Opening each gate grants a large boost in power, speed, and chakra, along with the ability to use several taijutsu techniques at specific gates. But forcibly increasing the speed of one's chakra flow could cause serious damage to the body," Sakura shouted. "Exactly," Kakashi continued. "By opening all 8 gates, one could achieve power beyond even the 5 Kage, but it's only temporary. The user will inevitably die." Sakura was horrified. Kakashi scowled at Guy. "I don't know what this boy means to you, Guy, but opening the 8 inner gates is far too dangerous a technique for a genin." Guy glared at his rival. "That's rich coming from you. From your conversation with Naruto, you're teaching Sasuke, a genin, the Chidori. That jutsu is classified as an assassination technique. You are teaching a well-known flight riska technique that's only purpose is to kill. Yet you have the gall to lecture me about what not to teach a genin." Kakashi flinched, knowing that Guy was right. He didn't have the right to lecture Guy on this, as he was no better. Back in the arena, Lee had opened the first gate and was running in a circle around Gaara. Confused at the action, Gaara voiced his question. "What are you waiting for? All right, you asked for it." "Ha!" Lee said as he kicked Gaara into the air. Appearing directly behind Gaara, Lee began to wrap him in the loose bandages. Unable to move his arms, Gaara wasn't able to escape the wrappings. Grabbing onto his opponent, Lee began spinning head first toward the ground. "Primary Lotus!" The shockwave knocked the other genin off their feet. When the smoke cleared, Gaara was revealed to have withstood the technique, a bloodthirsty grin on his face. Remembering Naruto's warning, Lee raised his hand. "I, Rock Lee, forfeit the match." Hade jumped back into the arena. "The winner is Gaara." Lee began to walk back to the balcony, when a wave of sand flew at him. Gaara was furious. No one had ever done so much damage to him. He would not let the boy live. Sending a wave of sand at Lee, he cackled in glee. His laughing was cut short by a sharp pain in his stomach. Looking down, he saw odd markings spreading over his body. Before he passed out, he heard a voice say, "You will regret your actions one day, Gaara. Count on it." After the incident with Gaara, the matches were rather uneventful. Tenten faced the eldest of the Sand siblings, Temari, with Tenten losing badly. Kankuro faced a sound shinobi named Misumi who had an odd ability to voluntarily dislocate his joints. Niji Hyuga found himself at the end of Naruto's blade when he tried to kill Hinata. Now, each participant that progressed to the finals was standing in the arena. Hate walked up with a box. "Each of you will draw a number from the box to determine your opponent," he explained. Gaara drew his number. 2. Next was Shino. 3. 4. Temari stated. Niji drew next. 7. When Naruto drew his number, he gave Niji a feral grin. 8. Sasuke glared at his teammate as he got his number. 1. Kankuro was next. 6. What a drag. 5. Shikamaru said, yawning. "So," Hate started. "The first match is Sasuke Uchiha vs. Gaara. The second match is Temari vs. Shino Aburame. The third match is Kankuro vs. Shikamaru Nara, and the final match is Niji Hyuga vs. Naruto Uzumaki. You will all have 1 month to prepare for the finals." After a short speech from the third Hokage, everyone left the tower. As Naruto left, he contemplated on what he was going to train in during the month. He could continue his training from his mindscape, but that could be done with shadow clones. He could just relax, but he has never been one to sit still for very long. He'd figure it out later. With the third Hokage. As Naruto was contemplating his training, the Hokage was contemplating Naruto's changes. He knew about the true nature of the Nine Tails. It was the last thing Minato confided in him before confronting Naruto's other half. He knew that the seal would not have broken so easily. This left the only explanation being that Orochimaru did something that damaged the seal enough to prematurely merge the two halves of Naruto. He would have to tread lightly. He had seen the changes in Naruto's personality. If he wasn't careful, he could lose Naruto to the boy's own anger at the village. He was left with instructions from Minato to give Naruto his inheritance when his two halves merged, though he likely didn't take it happening so soon into account. Nevertheless, it was his successor's last order as Hokage, and he would follow it. "Cat!" he called. An Anbu appeared at his side. "Yes, Lord Third?" "Bring me Naruto," he commanded. 2 hours later. Naruto sat against a tree in Training Ground 7, thinking about what he found out just a few minutes ago. His parents' letter stated that a masked Uchiha had shown up on the night of Naruto's birth and attempted to take him hostage. There was just one problem. Their coffins were empty. To make matters worse, he used the Shinigami death mask and the death god had confirmed his suspicions. Even worse, he had a twin sister. His parents had abandoned him for his sibling, and the Hokage was furious when Naruto told him of his findings. Never had he seen his grandfather figure so angry. The man had searched his office for any other proof. What he found was sickening to them both. They had found a hidden marriage contract behind the portrait of the first Hokage. If Naruto signed it, he would have been wed to his little sister. He knew nothing about his sibling, and they expected him to just agree to it. He hated incest. The concept alone made him want to punch its creator to death. Did they think he was an idiot? They abandoned him and then expect him to welcome them back with open arms? No. He would make their lives a living hell. Worse than what he had been through. Setting aside his thoughts of the many ways he intended to torture them, he decided to go home. He was just about to leave when he had to dodge a hail of kunai. Looking over at the culprit, he saw several people dressed in outfits similar to those that ANBU Black Ops wear. However, there was one major difference. The masks were blank with the exception of the kanji for root. Naruto realized that these were dogs of Danzo and his root organization. The third Hokage had warned him that Danzo would approach him at some point. Realizing that diplomacy was pointless with them, he drew the fox rods and took a stance. One of the root Anbu charged with his blade already mid-swing. Ducking under the diagonal slash, he lashed out, intent on skewering his assailant. Remembering Danzo's warning about the fox rod's special ability, the root shinobi jumped back, only to be assaulted by a rain of paper bombs. Seeing the enemy back off, Naruto jumped up and threw several paper bombs, calling out, "Shuriken Shadow Clone!" The paper bombs multiplied into a literal hailstorm of destruction. The explosion caught the root shinobi along with several others. The remaining root Anbu started going through hand signs. Sensing the chakra build up, Naruto went through hand signs of his own. Fire style, Fireball Jutsu. Vapor style, Solid Fog. The fireballs entered the acidic mist, causing a violent reaction. This resulted in a massive explosion. Realizing that the explosion would draw attention, the root Anbu fled under the cover of the smoke. When the smoke cleared, Naruto saw that they had escaped. The explosion had incinerated the bodies of the root shinobi he had killed. At that moment, the third Hokage had arrived with several Anbu. "Naruto, what happened?" "Nothing. I just got carried away while venting my frustrations." The third sighed. He could understand Naruto's anger. Hell, he himself had been beyond angry when he found out. He couldn't blame him for getting carried away. After all, Naruto had always wanted a family, and to find out he had essentially been abandoned was undoubtedly painful. He needed to help Naruto, or he could go on a revenge kick. The sad part was, he might actually join Naruto in it. He gave the boy a hug and told him that if the boy needed to talk, his doors were always open to him. Thanking the Hokage, he set out for his apartment. As he walked home, he thought about what he had to do about Danzo. That attack could not go unpunished. Danzo had been a thorn in the old man's side for too long, and attacking him was the last straw for Naruto. He needed to deal with Danzo carefully, or he could get in trouble. Suddenly, he got an idea and grinned viciously. This caused many villagers who saw it to pale and wonder what poor sap had earned the boy's ire. 3 days later in Danzo's hideout. It was official. Danzo was too overconfident for his own good. The security was so horrible that Naruto easily avoided the attention of the guards, taking them out and replacing them with transformed shadow clones. Naruto made his way through the base to Danzo's room. The man had become delusional and senile thanks to a special mixture he created. It caused the nerves responsible for the electrical signals in the brain to go haywire. This results in hallucinations, misjudgment of time, altered thought processes, and loss of proper visual recognition. Entering Danzo's study, he found the man waiting patiently for him. "I should have known you would eventually find proof that I had not disbanded Root. You are a prodigy after all, Minato," Danzo stated, clearly affected heavily by the poison. "Then you should know what I intend to do," Naruto said, playing along with the man's delusions. Danzo stood up. "Indeed I do. But I do not intend to go willingly." "So be it. You had your chance. I'll end this quick." Throwing a flying Raijin kunai, he teleported behind Danzo, having learned the jutsu just for this fight. Recognizing the technique, Danzo jumped back, knowing the enclosed space would make utilizing the jutsu difficult. Going through some hand signs, he sucked in some air. "Wind style, drilling air bullet." The jutsu rocketed toward Naruto. Teleporting to a marking he had placed on the door, Naruto narrowly avoided the attack as it destroyed the wall behind him. Forming a Rasengan, he lunged at Danzo, sending him through the back wall. Naruto jumped after him, only to find Danzo completely unharmed. Narrowing his eyes, he dashed toward Danzo again, engaging the old cripple in a taijutsu fight. Sweeping the man's legs out from under him, Naruto jumped above him, forming a Rasengan as he did. The moment Danzo hit the ground, Naruto twisted and slammed the jutsu into the man's back. The spiral nature of the jutsu tore off Danzo's right arm. As Danzo lay dying, he analyzed the battle. "You figured it out," he said. Naruto stared down at him. "Yes, I did. You had several Sharingan eyes implanted in that arm. The only reason you would need multiple eyes would be to use a certain ability of the dojutsu. The technique, Izanagi, has a cost. It rewrites one's death in exchange for the light in one Sharingan eye. Having multiple eyes allowed you to use it multiple times. However, you had to use the implanted eye in your right eye socket first, as it was the only one directly connected to your chakra network. By forcing you to use Izanagi once and then removing the arm, I prevented you from activating the technique again. Looking Naruto in the eye, he said, I stand by what I said that day. Your will of fire is indeed more powerful than my own. My only regret is that I failed to see that my own was weakening. Guide this village. That is my only mission request. With that, the darkness of Shinobi drew his last breath. Naruto knelt down. Closing Danzo's eyes, he swore to honor the man's dying request. He stood up. Mission accepted, Elder Danzo. A month had passed since the second round. All the finalists were in the stadium. All except one, of course. Damn it, Sasuke! You had better show up soon, Naruto mumbled. He had managed to avoid his team by training in his family estate, not that he considered them family. Sasuke had been very persistent in finding out what Naruto was training in. Bastard probably thought he could copy his skills, and now the so-called last Uchiha was late to the exams. Idiot. Up in the Kage box, the third Hokage was thinking similar thoughts. His musing on Sasuke's lack of punctuality was halted by the arrival of the Kazekage, Raza. Welcome, Lord Kazekage. I hope your travel here was alright, the third Hokage greeted. It was fine, but thank you for the concern. It is good to know you haven't changed Hiruzen, the fourth Kazekage responded. However, I do wonder if you have chosen the next Hokage. After all, you may have a few more years left, but everyone has their limits. It's always good to be prepared. True enough. Though I have not decided yet, I do have a candidate for the position. Nodding, the Raza looked down at the arena. He noticed the Uchiha wasn't among the finalists. You seem to be missing a genin, he said. Sasuke Uchiha's Jonin-sensei, Kakashi Hatake, seems to have rubbed off on him. The Hokage sighed. The Kazekage just nodded. Kakashi Hatake was notorious for being late. One of his students picking up that quirk was bound to happen eventually. After a short speech, the genin headed up into the contestants' box, while Gaara waited for his opponent. He was getting increasingly annoyed by the Uchiha's disrespect. Was the boy honestly so arrogant that he believed he would be waited on? Even a total moron knew that the feudal lords would not let this level of disrespect go unpunished. They had their own duties to attend to. After 15 minutes, the Hokage was fed up with Sasuke's lateness. Signaling the proctor, Genmai Shiranui, he told him to disqualify Sasuke. The Kazekage looked over at the Hokage. Perhaps we should just push back the Uchiha's match. A great deal of people did travel here just to see it. The Hokage narrowed his eyes. If they did, then they have no right to be here, he explained. For a client to come to the exams just for a single genin means that they would show the boy favoritism on missions. This could cause the one in charge of the mission to abort it. The reason being that it would demoralize the other members of the team. They would think the client doesn't trust them, and as such, would become angry with them. In the event of a fight, this could ultimately result in the genin leaving Sasuke and the client behind, putting self-preservation above a child's arrogance. The Kazekage inwardly cursed. With that kind of reasoning, the feudal lords would side with the Hokage on the matter. Deciding to drop it, he turned back to the arena to watch the next fight. Back in the arena. Well, Uchiha, you had your chance, Genma thought with a scowl. The runt's arrogance will get him killed one day. Turning to the crowd, he announced Sasuke's disqualification. Naturally, this caused a lot of Uchiha supporters to voice their displeasure. Genma called out the next match. Will Shino Aburaim and Temari please come down to the field? He shouted. Shino used the body flicker jutsu to appear in the arena. He had come across Naruto practicing it during the month-long interval. Naruto had told him of Shursui Uchiha. His use of the jutsu earned him the nickname Shursui the Teleporter. He drove his opponents mad as they tried to hit him. Realizing that it could help cover his lack of taijutsu skill, Shino had asked if Naruto could teach him it. He found himself to be a natural at it. As Temari glided down to the arena, she looked at Shino warily. She had heard of the Aburame clan and their parasitic insects. Seeing them firsthand in the preliminaries made her wary enough, but the boy just used the body flicker with ease. Taijutsu may not be their strong point, but if he could use that jutsu well enough, she could still have trouble in close combat. Genma raised his hand. If you are both ready. He started getting nods from both. Then begin! Temari didn't waste any time. Unfolding her fan, she swung it quickly. Wind Scythe Jutsu! She shouted as a blast of wind shot toward Shino. Jumping back, he went through some hand signs. As the wind jutsu hit, he substituted with a log. Finishing his hand signs, he threw a few shuriken at Temari. Shuriken Shadow Clone! The shurikens suddenly multiplied. Recognizing the tags attached to them, Temari shielded herself with her fan. The resulting explosion knocked her back several feet, her fan completely useless with all the holes and burns on it. Looks like I'll have to fight up close. You're not half bad, she said. Engaging Shino in taijutsu, she quickly found that she had been right in her assumption of his usage of the body flicker. Soon enough, she began to get frustrated. This cost her, as in her anger, she overextended a punch. Shino grabbed her arm and pulled, sending her off balance. Sweeping her legs out from under her, Shino jumped back to get some breathing room. Up in the stands, the other genin watched in amazement. Some of the older shinobi noted that Shino's use of the body flicker was similar to Shursui the teleporter. Looks like we have a candidate for Chunin already, one of the judges stated. True. He showed proper tactics in dealing with the Sand Kunoichi's wind jutsu. On top of that, he uses the body flicker to dodge the girl's attacks while he gets in some hits of his own, negating the typical Aburame weakness of taijutsu, said another. Back in the arena, Temari was getting more and more frustrated. She couldn't hit this guy. Worse yet, she was getting hit constantly. The blows weren't that strong, but the sheer number of them would eventually add up. Her thoughts were interrupted when her legs gave out. She looked at them and saw insects crawling all over them. But when? She asked. It was during the taijutsu fight. I placed a couple of my insects on you with each hit, he explained. That's why the blows weren't very strong. While the bugs drained your chakra, your increasing frustration prevented you from noticing the drain. This allowed me to place more of my insects as you got angrier. Eventually, you began to run low on chakra, and now you're out of it. He placed a kunai at Temari's throat. Surrender. Checking her chakra levels, she saw he was indeed right. She was out of chakra and too exhausted to continue with taijutsu. Looking over at the proctor, she raised her hand. Proctor, I forfeit, she said. Genma turned to the crowd as Shino helped her up. The winner is Shino Aburame. The crowd cheered for the exciting match. When the crowd calmed down, Genma called the next match. Will Niji Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki please come down to the field? He shouted. Niji walked down to the arena with a smirk, certain of his victory. Unfortunately, he failed to notice a seal on the back of his neck begin to glow. Shikamaru did not. Naruto gave his typical feral grin. Niji had no idea of the level of humiliation he was about to undergo. He jumped over the railing, landing on all fours. Standing up, he walked over and stood across from his opponent. Niji still had that smirk on his face. You got something you want to say? He asked as Genma raised his hand. Only one thing. Naruto started as his grin grew more and more vicious by the second. Don't blink. The proctor lowered his hand. Begin! Niji's world exploded into pain. He couldn't even comprehend what was happening. 1 second, his opponent is in front of him with that infuriating grin, and the next, he is flying head first into the far wall. All he saw was a flash of yellow. He saw another flash just before he was harshly kicked in the chest, knocking the wind out of him. Even Gai-sensei didn't kick that hard. It felt like his insides were liquefied. Up in the stands, the genin had their jaws on the ground. Sakura decided to ask the unspoken question. What is that? Asuma and the other jonin were speechless. The dead last was using one of the second Hokage's most powerful jutsu. A jutsu that was also used by the fourth. Guy was the one to answer the question. That was the Flying Raijin. What's the Flying Raijin? Ino asked. Sakura started choking when she heard the name. She looked at Ino incredulously. The Flying Raijin is a jutsu created by the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju, she began. Through the use of seals, he was able to teleport to anything marked with the sealing formula. The fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, used the Flying Raijin as well. It was what gave him the nickname, the Yellow Flash of the Leaf. It's a SS rank sealing jutsu that is of the space-time category. The fourth utilized kunai with the sealing formula written on them to act as mobile beacons, allowing him to teleport multiple times in rapid succession. He took out over 1,000 hidden stone shinobi during the Third Great Ninja War with the jutsu. The survivors said all they saw was a flash of yellow before they began to drop like flies. Ino looked at Asuma for confirmation. Getting a nod, she looked back at the field in awe. Tenten remembered something Sakura said and decided to voice her question. Hold on. I don't see any kunai, so where is the seal? She asked. Everyone started looking at the field trying to find the seal. Getting an idea, Sakura turned to Hinata. Hinata, can you look at Niji with your Byakugan? She requested. Hinata was confused. Kurenai's eyes widened as she caught on to Sakura's theory. She looked at Hinata. I think I get it. Go ahead, Hinata. Reluctantly, Hinata activated her Byakugan. Looking over Niji's body, she noticed something odd. A part of Niji's chakra was being diverted to his neck. Following the flow, she eventually found her answer. There is some sort of mark on the back of his neck, she exclaimed. Back in the arena, Niji had heard his cousin's comment. What did you do to me? He demanded. I placed my Flying Raijin marking on the back of your neck. Right on the Byakugan's blind spot, he explained. Niji and the other Hyugas in the stadium were shocked. How did he know about the blind spot? When you fought Hinata in the prelims, I noticed that one of her kunai escaped the vision of your Byakugan, he continued. After analyzing that moment, I realized that the Byakugan had a blind spot. During the month-long interval, when you bumped into me in the hot springs, I had placed the seal on you. You never noticed me do it because you were so focused on degrading Hinata. My strike to the back of your neck was the moment the seal was placed. Because you train in the Byakugan alone, the seal went unnoticed by others, and being in your blind spot, you didn't notice either. Niji was stunned. Even the crowd was silent. The dead last had virtually guaranteed his victory days before the finals even began. He had done nothing wrong, as there were no rules against placing seals on your opponent before the matches. The genin were told to prepare. There were no rules on how they were to do so. Flashing behind Niji, Naruto gave an aerial roundhouse kick to Niji's head, sending him face first into the ground. Before he blacked out from the sheer amount of pain, he heard Naruto say, When caged birds grow wiser, they open the door with their beaks. They never give up, because they want to fly again. Checking Niji's downed form, Genma saw that the boy was out cold. Standing up, he declared Niji unconscious. The winner is Naruto Uzumaki, he shouted. As Naruto raised his hand proudly at his victory, the wind picked up. When it died down, Naruto scowled. The runt was 2 hours late, and he just shows up like he owns the place. What a moron! Sasuke looked around with a smirk, clearly believing he would still get his match. Kakashi did his signature eye smile. Yo! Are we late? He said. Naruto let loose his killing intent, making Kakashi sweat. What do you think, Hatake? Naruto said as he spoke Kakashi's last name with enough venom to make the snake boss Manda whistle with pride. Yep. They were late. Seriously, was it too much to ask for a humble Uchiha? Clearly it was, as Sasuke looked at Naruto with a smirk. Naruto narrowed his eyes. If Sasuke honestly thought he would be allowed to fight Gaara, he was in for a rude awakening. Heck, he had already lost his chance at promotion when he attacked Naruto during the preliminaries. He did not have the right to stand on this stage. Despite Naruto's increasingly strong killing intent, Kakashi managed to regain his composure. Now, what's with the hostility? He asked nervously. Damn, the kid's killing intent was something else. He would swear up and down that the temperature dropped 20 degrees from it. Naruto was seething. That one-eyed bastard had the gall to act like nothing was wrong. Was he that stupid? Taking a few deep breaths, he walked over to Kakashi. "You don't deserve this," Naruto growled. The man never saw it coming. Coating his left hand with chakra, mimicking his Ian Half's claws, Naruto slashed upwards, straight through his sensei's left eye. Kakashi fell to his knees, clutching his face as he screamed in agony. He never expected Naruto to attack him. The chakra had incinerated the optic nerve, preventing the eye from ever being replaced again. Naruto glared at his sensei with enough malice to make Madara Uchiha flinch. "If you ever embarrass the Leaf by being so disrespectful ever again, I'll take away more than your Sharingan," he scolded. "Now get lost! You're a disgrace!" Kakashi fled, hoping to get to the hospital in time to save his eyesight. Sasuke fumed. Naruto had destroyed his clan's bloodline right in front of him. He would not stand for this. Going through hand signs, he gathered his chakra into his left hand. The sound of birds chirping filled the air as he charged at his teammate. Naruto scoffed at Sasuke. The runt was using the Chidori like swinging a sword. What an idiot. Grabbing the Uchiha's wrist, he looked Sasuke in the eyes. "The Chidori is supposed to be a stab, not a slash. You aren't worth my time if you can't even properly use a jutsu you've learned. Makes me wonder who the real dead last is," Naruto said as he once again knocked him out. Up in the stands, Sakura was screeching at Naruto to let Sasuke go. The others just shook their heads at her. Sasuke was intent on injuring a comrade for no reason. Many who showed up for the exams after hearing of the boy realized that he wasn't as good as the rumors said. He was definitely unstable, so why praise him when it was clear he was a flight risk? At least the Uzumaki was smart enough to call him out on his disrespect. It's clear that the Hokage was not in on the favoritism. He did disqualify the Uchiha, after all. Back in the arena, Naruto had just arrived in the contestants' box. Deciding to start the next match, Genma called out, "Will Shikamaru, Nara, and Kankuro please come down to the field?" Kankuro was sweating. If he fought now, no. He needed to save his strength. "Proctor, I forfeit!" he shouted. The crowd loudly voiced their displeasure, while Shikamaru narrowed his eyes. "So you noticed it too?" Shikamaru turned to see Naruto walking towards him. "Yeah. He is in perfect fighting shape, so there is no reason to give up yet. It just doesn't add up. Something's going to happen," he replied. Naruto nodded. "I've got a bad feeling about this." In the Kage box, the Hokage had similar thoughts. Was the Sand going to try something? He shook his head. They didn't have the military power to do so. Turning his head to Naruto, he recalled his conversation with his student Jiraiya. Flashback start. The third Hokage was livid. Here was one of the people who had abandoned Naruto. His student Jiraiya. "Hey sensei!" Jiraiya said, completely oblivious to his teacher's killing intent. "And pray tell, when you were going to inform me of Minato's survival?" Hiruzen asked. "Along with the fact that he and Kushina had 2 children, not 1. Jiraiya paled. His sensei was not supposed to know that. How did he find out? "Judging by your expression," Hiruzen continued, "I wasn't supposed to find out." "Well, it was Naruto who discovered it." Jiraiya paled further. This was really bad. "Sensei, I can explain dash," he started. "Oh, I know why you did it," Hiruzen interrupted, furious at his student's attempts at justification. "It was that damn prophecy." "Well, you should know that Naruto saw right through all of you. He knows about his sibling and the marriage contract with her. Naruto hates incest. He knows of Kushina's awareness of a demon host's treatment. He knows that his parents abandoned him for his sibling. He knows of yours and Tsunade's part in the abandonment. He hates all of you. He also refuses to forgive the villagers for the hell they put him through." At this he sighed. "More than that though, Naruto will never forgive his so-called family. The boy wants nothing less than to torture them worse than Anko on a bad day with Orochimaru's right-hand man." Jiraiya had practically lost all color by the end of his sensei's speech. This wasn't supposed to happen. "How did he find out?" Jiraiya asked. When he read his parents, Jiraiya flinched at the venomous tone. "Letters, he decided to analyze their bodies for any clues to the masked man's powers." Hiruzen began. Unfortunately, when he went to exhume the bodies, he found that the coffins were empty. He theorized that Minato and Kushina were alive. He then entered the Uzumaki mask temple outside the village. Utilizing the shadow clone jutsu, he summoned the Shinigami for confirmation. The death god not only confirmed his suspicions, but also informed him of everything. There was no masked man. The Shinigami also informed Naruto that he was the child of prophecy, not his sister. Needless to say, Naruto was enraged by the revelations and asked the death god to inform Kami that if the world were to be destroyed, then he wouldn't lift a finger to stop it. Jiraiya was horrified by that last part. Not only was he wrong about who the child of prophecy was, but the real child of prophecy was going to let the world burn. How did it come to this? Is there any way to change his mind? He asked, grasping for straws at this point. No. He has made it clear that he wants nothing to do with you or your prophecy. I am forbidding you from interacting with Naruto Uzumaki. You have done enough damage and you're lucky that I don't label Minato and Kushina as Rouge Shinobi. The third shouted, completely fed up with his student's refusal to accept that he messed up. Jiraiya left with his head down. He knew that he had essentially been told that if it wasn't for the fact that he would follow Minato, his student would have been labeled a criminal. As the man left the room, Hiruzen sighed, wondering just where he went wrong with his students. Flashback end, he was severely disappointed with his students. Jiraiya and Tsunade abandoned Naruto. They had lost their will of fire long ago. Speaking of Naruto, he remembered his conversation with the boy yesterday. It was quite a shock. Flashback start, Hiruzen Sarutobi was giggling. Why? It's just that for all his anger at his students, he is still a pervert who reads Make Out Paradise. He was just getting to the good part when the door to his office opened. Quickly putting the book away, he noticed it was Naruto who walked in. He began to sweat when he noticed the boy's left eye twitching. It only did that when he was about to punish a pervert. Deciding self-preservation was more important than his pride, he asked Naruto why he was there. Naruto activated a silencing seal and explained. I got a visit from Kami. He started. Apparently, because of my statement, she decided to give me a choice. What was the choice? Hiruzen asked. The choice was to either accept my role in the prophecy, or become a deity so that I would, by divine law, be unable to be a part of it. I would have to choose a new child of prophecy to replace me, though. Naruto replied. Sarutobi was stunned. His surrogate grandson was given the choice of godhood. What were the details? He asked, knowing that there was more to the choice than at first glance. Naruto sighed, looking older than he actually was. If I were to accept becoming a god, I would be forced to put my deity responsibilities above my obligations as a shinobi. This means that if a meeting of the Divine Council is called, even if I am in the middle of a fight, I am forced to attend it. If something is against the divine law of my jurisdiction, I am to deal with it regardless of whether or not it involves harming my friends. Those are just examples of the seriousness of this choice. Naruto explained. Hiruzen realized the gravity of Naruto's situation. On one hand, if he accepts godhood, it means he might have to harm, or even kill his friends if it corrects an imbalance. On the other hand, declining would mean accepting his biological family regardless of their sins. Mulling it over, he came to a conclusion. Tell me, Naruto, he began. What choice is a shinobi forced to make if his team is outnumbered and the only way to survive is to leave a member behind to stall? Realizing what his surrogate grandfather was saying, Naruto answered. He would be forced to leave a member behind. The needs of the many outweighing the needs of the few. This could also mean that the team member could defect out of self-preservation, forcing the team to fight and or kill him or her. Even if they were friends. Indeed. Hiruzen smiled. Thank you, Grandpa Saru? Flashback end, hearing his old nickname warmed his heart. Naruto told him that he would contact Kami after the exams. He didn't want to potentially be interrupted in the middle of his match. Looking back at the arena, he wondered what the future would bring. Naruto was in the Namikaze estate, waiting for Kami to arrive. He had summoned the Shinigami, requesting an audience with her to give his answer. He had weighed the pros and cons of each choice and come to the same conclusion as the third Hokage. Just as he was beginning to get impatient, a portal opened and Cammy stepped out. "You made your decision faster than I had expected," Cammy said. She had silver-colored hair with blue streaks in it. Her eyes were a bright orange. She wore a white dress with red markings on them in the shape of a spiral, black pants with white stripes, and dark blue shoes. "Yeah. Me too," he said. "So what are the full details as I have accepted godhood?" Cammy wasn't surprised by his choice. He had been betrayed by his own flesh and blood. No one could let such a thing go. Not even herself. He also understood that as a shinobi, he might have to make equally difficult choices. Being a god simply meant that it was more likely to be the case. "First, you must understand this. You are replacing an ancient god known among mortals as the Ten-Tailed Wolf or Jubi no Ukami." Naruto's eyes visibly widened. The Jubi was sealed by the Sage of Six Paths. He split the Jubi into the eight-tailed beasts. To find out that it was a deity, that would cause an immense imbalance. "I see you understand your divine station already," Cammy continued. "Yes. You will be replacing the Jubi no Ukami. This will stabilize the imbalance." The Jubi was the god of destruction, hence its signature jutsu, celestial art, cataclysm. However, it was attempting to destroy the divine tree when the sage sealed it. When the sage died, the seal caused him to take the Jubi with him, causing the imbalance. "As a shinobi, I destroy things on a regular basis," Naruto said. "True. Are you ready?" Cammy asked. "Yes." "Then let's begin." Naruto fell to his knees in pain. He could feel every bone in his body shifting, but he grit his teeth, refusing to back out. He grew to a massive 7 feet 2 inches. His hair turned black with red tips and grew thicker, almost like a mane. His muscles grew larger. Not to the point of bulging, but more of an athlete's build. His tailbone extended and split into 10 canine tails. His eyes turned a bright yellow, his nails sharpened into claws, and he gained a pair of wolf ears atop his head. His teeth grew razor-sharp, four fangs jutting slightly from his lips, which had turned black. Finally, his forearms, legs, and tails grew a thick coat of black fur. When the changes finished, he let out a blood-chilling howl. Cammy looked on in awe. She had expected Naruto to pass out from the pain, or even change his mind and beg for her to stop the process. However, he did not. The boy's resolve to see his choice through to the end was incredible. He would make a great deity, no question about it. Heavens knows the Divine Council needed a leader with a backbone. Naruto's howl was one of absolute power and resolve. "Well, how do I look?" he asked. His voice had gotten much deeper and was practically flooded with power. Damn, she could hardly speak. Curse her predecessor's law against gods mating with each other. Unable to remove her blush, Cammy simply pulled him through the portal. He chuckled. She was definitely going to be fun to tease. She led him to the council chambers, having regained her composure enough to explain his full station. Apparently, as the new Jubi, he ruled over the other gods. It was nearly identical to the job of a Kage. Cammy motioned him to go in, smirking as she had an idea of what his method of entrance would be. Sure enough, Naruto got a wicked grin, and kicked the council room doors open. Moments before Naruto and Cammy's arrival, all of the gods were gathered in the chambers except Cammy and Naruto. A/N. I won't explain each of their looks. It would take too long. Just think of human versions of the brushed spirits from Okami, with the tone their voice-overs determining their gender. Each was speculating on what Cammy had called them for. They were startled out of their musings when the doors were violently kicked open. Some of the older members paled, recognizing Naruto's appearance as the Jubi no Ukami. The younger ones, not so much. "Who do you think you are?" one of them shouted. He had a tiger-like appearance with a crossbow and a katana strapped to his back. Cammy smirked at him. "He is the new Jubi no Ukami. You would do well to remember that, Susanoo," she informed the now paling storm god. As Naruto took his seat, some of the other gods were thinking that he would be little more than a pushover like the last Jubi. "Oh, those poor fools." One of them stood up. He had a mouse-like appearance, and a small sword sheath attached to his belt. I failed to see why we were called for this when you could have informed us separately, he asked with a sneer. Naruto's eyes were shadowed by his hair. He let loose his killing intent, and the effects were instantaneous. Each of the gods that he sensed had thought that he was weak-willed like the last Jubi fell to their knees. They couldn't breathe from the intense pressure. The gods that weren't hit with it also found it difficult to breathe. The killing intent was just that strong. You think that a new leader of the gods is not an important enough event to warrant a full council meeting? Naruto asked, his voice dripping with malice. You seem to have forgotten your place on this council, Tsukuyomi. Perhaps you need a reminder. The now shaking Tsukuyomi sat down slowly. This one was different. He clearly wasn't going to tolerate any form of disrespect. This council seems to have let my predecessor's lack of spine go to their heads, Naruto said. You seem to have forgotten that each of you advised me. You do not make decisions for me. If you have a problem with that, by all means let me know. The sickly sweet smile on his face that had many paling as he spoke turned predatory, making them flinch. I would be happy to correct those issues, he continued. The council shook their heads rapidly. Good, he said happily, eyes smiling as he did a complete 180 in his demeanor. Then let's all play nice, Kay? On the outside, Kami's face was blank, but a chibi version was laughing her ass off in her head. The sheer terror on the council's faces at their helplessness was hilarious. The meeting went on for several hours with the council finding out just how helpless they were against Naruto. Eventually, it ended, and everyone went back to their domains while Naruto went to see the Hokage. Back on the mortal plane, Hiruzen had a headache. Looks like Naruto made his decision just in time. He was contemplating the consequences of killing them and hiding their bodies when a portal opened. Breathing a sigh of relief at Naruto's return, he blinked at the changes, but soon paled at the number of tails. He now knew just which god his surrogate grandson had replaced. They were screwed. Naruto looked around the office, before his vision landed on a group of 6. Looking at the one with spiky, blonde hair, he scowled. Well, he began. Isn't this an unwelcome surprise? So then, which of you should I torture first, father? Naruto took in the sight. His expression was blank, but one look at his eyes told you he was furious. Why, you ask? Well, it turns out that his parents had decided to bring the Toad Elder Fukasaku, likely to persuade him to accept the prophecy. Too bad they're one day late. While Naruto was contemplating if anyone would miss them, the others were staring at him confused. Here was a deity claiming to be Minato's son. What was going on? Then, they noticed the whisker markings and paled rapidly. That couldn't be. Yes, it is. Hiruzen began after seeing their expressions. Minato, Kushina, Maya A/N pronounced, and Mae, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Fukasaku, please meet the Jubi no Ukami. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. But that means. Jiraiya stuttered. Yes. I am no longer the child of prophecy, as gods aren't allowed to carry that title. Naruto answered, continuing where Hiruzen left off. Because of this, as the ruler of the gods, I must choose a new child of prophecy. Don't bother trying to convince me to hand that title to Maya. I was just in a meeting with the other gods. One of the topics on the meeting's agenda was making my choice, and it most certainly was not her. So then who was it? Fukasaku asked. Perhaps he could persuade the new child of prophecy to sign the Toad contract. Naruto glared at the Toad, having sensed the amphibian's thoughts. Satisfied at the fearful expression on its face, he began to explain. You all abandoned me to a village that had just been attacked by a tailed beast. He started. You practically handed the reason for their suffering to them on a silver platter. Did you honestly think that I would be seen as a hero? Were you truly stupid enough to believe that the village wouldn't hate me since I held the source of their pain? On second thought, don't answer. You clearly were stupid enough to believe those things or you wouldn't have left. Naruto scowled at Kushina. Lady Mito would be ashamed of you. What did she say was the most important thing for a demon host? Kushina turned away, unable to look her eldest in the eyes. Love, she answered. Correct, he continued. I grew up knowing nothing of love. Only hatred. Hatred for this village. Hatred for those who wronged me. hatred for those who made my life a living hell. Now you want me to tell you all who I chose as the new child of prophecy? Don't make me laugh. I wouldn't trust you with a blade of grass, let alone vital information for the world's survival. I'm honestly surprised that you haven't abandoned Maya yet. I mean, you so easily threw me aside because you thought I wasn't the child of prophecy, so why didn't you abandon her when you found out you were wrong? Naruto turned towards the window. You may have stopped my half from destroying the village, but you are failures as parents, and as shinobi. You left me and your village for a prophecy that might not even come to pass. Actions have consequences, and now, you will find out the consequences of yours. With that, Naruto left the office. 3 days later, a couple of things had happened during the past few days. First, Shikamaru were promoted to Chunin while Naruto was promoted to Special Jonin. The second was Naruto getting together with Hinata. The poor girl had the mother of all nosebleeds when she saw how he looked now. And finally, the truth of the Nine Tails attack and Naruto's heritage was announced to the public. The reactions were as Naruto expected. All of the civilians and shinobi were angry at both the Namake's group and at themselves. They felt horrible about their actions over the years, as Naruto being the fourth son meant that he was human, not a tailed beast. They didn't even care that the fox turned out to be a part of him. It just meant that it was once human itself. Plus, they were more concerned about atoning for their sins than the fox's origins. It probably helped that they all believed in the concept of the village being a family. That meant that theirs and the fourth's actions were inexcusable. The only ones that weren't angry at them were the other members of Team 7. Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi had become outcasts because of it. Kakashi was still angry that Naruto destroyed his Sharingan, and had the gall to say that the Jonin had embarrassed the village in front of everyone at the Chunin exams. He had been demoted to Genin, and was stuck with catching Tora for the next 4 months. Sasuke believed it to be insulting that Naruto defeated him twice in the exams. Damn it, he was Rookie of the Year. He shouldn't have lost to the dead last. On top of that, Naruto was now the ruler of the gods. Just thinking about it made him angry. Sakura, well, she's the only remaining Sasuke fangirl. Enough said? Needless to say, the Namake's group was depressed. The only exception being Maya. She was downright terrified of Naruto. She had inherited the negative emotion sensing of the Uzumaki clan. The anger and hatred rolling off of Naruto was frightening. She felt like she was in a pit full of demons out for her blood. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. They were supposed to be a happy family, not completely rejected by him. He even banished them from the Uzumaki, Namake's, and Senju clans and sealed their bloodlines. It seemed that the saying was true. You reap what you sow, and Minato and Kushina's decisions have had dire consequences. Side story: Hinata's Wrath, the rookies, minus Naruto, met up with Team 9 at Training Ground 8 after hearing the announcement of the Fourth's actions. Man, I can't believe that Naruto's own parents just abandoned him, Kiba said angrily. As an Inuzuka, he was taught that the pack is more important than anything. He couldn't imagine what Naruto was going through. I'm more worried about Naruto. He has been rather angry lately, Ino said. She had given up on Sasuke after he tried to kill Naruto with the Chidori. The Uchiha was clearly unstable. Not exactly a turn-on. He has every right to be angry. His own parents abandoned him. Neji spoke. He had lost his father in the aftermath of the Hyuga incident. Being defeated by Naruto opened his eyes to Hinata's kindness, causing him to realize that her father was the one to blame. After all, if he had captured the hidden cloud shinobi rather than killing him, Neji's father might not have had to take Hayashi's place. So he could understand that Naruto was angry as he didn't lose his father that night. Instead, he was left to the wolves by the so-called hero of the attack. Sasuke looked over at them. He deserved it. Shikamaru smirked. Is that your opinion because he beat you twice and then humiliated you in front of a crowd a month later? Shut it. He just got lucky, Sakura screeched. Naruto's just a loser who couldn't fight fairly. He doesn't deserve a family. Shino, Lee, Choji and Tenten were edging away slowly from Hinata. Everyone knew about her crush on Naruto. They also knew that insulting him was a good way to get on her bad side, and the tick mark on her forehead along with her Byakugan activating was not a good sign. This won't be pretty, they thought. Meanwhile, in Hayashi's office, Hayashi was dealing with paperwork when he got a sudden chill down his spine. He only got this chill when his wife was angry at someone insulting him when they were dating. It was typically followed by a beating far greater than anything Jiraiya had ever experienced. Given Hinata was just like her, it seemed someone had severely insulted Naruto. May the gods have mercy on the poor sap that angered her, he prayed. Back with the rookies, Hinata was fed up with Sakura insulting her boyfriend. Going up to Sasuke, she decided to punish Sakura by ruining her dream. You got something to say, weakling? He said arrogantly. What happened next made him regret asking that question. The tick mark on Hinata's forehead got larger, and the others began backing away as well. Sakura and Sasuke were clearly oblivious though. Without warning, she brought a gentle fist-infused leg up, right between Sasuke's legs. Horrified, Sakura rushed him to the hospital. Unfortunately, they couldn't do anything for him other than ease the pain. From that point on, everyone watched what they said about Naruto when Hinata was around, lest they become the target of her new gentle fist technique, the Nutcracker. Hayashi would later label it a forbidden technique of the Hyuga clan and have the Hokage place it in the scroll of sealing. Naruto's profile. I thought that readers might be confused with certain things about Naruto's skill set. Therefore, I've decided to list off a profile as if he was in the bingo book, which he is not in, yet. Will be updated as the story progresses. Main character Naruto Uzumaki Namake's titles: Jubi no Ukami, Yan half, Kyubi no Kitsune, In half, ruler of the gods. Gender: male. Age: 13. Height: 5 foot 11 inch. Prior to ascension: 7'2". After ascending: shinobi rank, special jonin threat level, SS appearance, bright yellow eyes with a slit pupil. Has black fur that covers his limbs up to the knees and elbows. Has 10 canine tails and a pair of wolf ears on his head. His hair is black with red tips. Possesses razor-sharp claws on his hands and feet. Wears a black cloak and white pants with glowing red markings on them signifying his deity status. Carries a greenish-yellow, rod-like sword with 4 L-shaped protrusions on each side of the blade. Affinities: wind, water, lightning, earth, fire, yin, yang. Family: father Minato Namake's mother Kushina Uzumaki Namake's sister Maya Uzumaki Namake's cousin Tsunade Uzumaki. Senju skill levels: Taijutsu 10 out of 10, Ninjutsu 10 out of 10, Genjutsu 7 out of 10. Cannot use Genjutsu due to massive chakra reserves. However, his status as a god renders all Genjutsu 100% useless. Kenjutsu 7 out of 10. Lacks an actual Kenjutsu style. Shurikenjutsu 9 out of 10, Fuinjutsu 10 out of 10. Bloodlines: Adamant Sealing Chains Vapor style, Boil release in Japan. Inferno style, Blaze release in Japan. Kajigan, Shadow Eye unique to his deity status, always active. Causes his eyes to glow faintly. Only currently known ability is the power to view past events connected to emotions. Light style, In release in Japan. Not unlocked. Dark style, Yang release in Japan. Not unlocked. 6 paths. Sage art, Yin Yang release in Japan. Not unlocked. Notes: Naruto is the current ruler of the gods. As such, he is immortal, has an unlimited amount of chakra, and he is nearly impervious to physical injury. His blade, the Fox Rods, has 2 forms. The first form has a 3 feet long blade and has an odd circular shape at the base that bends inward at the hilt. It has a glowing orange streak that outlines the edge. The second form looks like 3 thin, green and yellow rods stuck side by side, with the middle one being longer than the others. The V-shaped hilt has 3 rods with the bottom one ending in a spiral shape pointing downwards. The blade itself has 4 L-shaped protrusions on each side pointing upwards toward the tip. The first form causes normal physical injuries, while the second one pushes chakra out of the opponent with each strike until they are left with nothing. Being hit by the second form while out of chakra causes instant death. The amount of chakra lost from being hit by the blade's second form is in direct proportion to the physical injury that the attack would cause in its first form. Naruto hates his parents for abandoning him at birth, but it is unknown if he feels the same way about his sister, as he tends to avoid her whenever possible. He can be quite harsh in his opinion of others and has displayed a cold and emotionless demeanor when certain topics come up. He values family above all else, a trait shared among his friends, and will not hesitate to, as he puts it, erase anyone who threatens them. He is currently in a relationship with the heiress of the Hyuga clan, Hinata Hyuga. Warning: do not engage ever. He is a true immortal, you idiots, not like that loudmouth Haiden. Have a side story. Yay! Laughing face. Side story: Kakashi vs. Tora Round 1. The pitfall. It has been 2 days after the village-wide announcement of Naruto's familial situation. Kakashi was currently walking back to the mission office while glaring at what he considered to be a demon in disguise. Honestly, if found the person that this thing managed to learn the clone jutsu from, he would skin them alive. At least it was going back to its owner, and *poof* a log? How the hell did it learn the substitution jutsu? 30 minutes later, eventually he caught up to it. He was 2 feet from the cat when the ground suddenly gave out. He tried to stick to the walls but found that they were covered in chakra-draining seals. Now the cat was looking down the hole and he swore it was laughing at him. "I will capture you! Count on it!" he shouted. Now he just had to figure out how to get out of here. 10 minutes later, he finally got out of the pitfall and continued tracking his target. He saw it go into a clearing in the forest. It seemed to think it was safe. This was his chance. He slowly and quietly made his way over to the cat, only to fall into another hole. Groaning, he looked up and his visible eye widened. The cat was holding a bucket with its tail. Kakashi whimpered, hoping that the awful smell coming from it wasn't what he thought it was. Alas, his prayers went unanswered. 40 minutes later, after taking a rather long and thorough shower, he resumed his hunt, more determined than ever to catch that cat after that last stunt it pulled. He walked out his front door, and fell into another hole. The walls lit up with seals shaped like a Chibitora's face with the tongue sticking out, which then began spraying him with multicolored paint. To his horror, it was soaking into his make-out paradise. Graphic novel edition. There were only 20 copies ever made and now his was ruined. "Tuareya! When I catch you, I'll mount your head on my mantle!" he screamed to the heavens. Meanwhile, in the Divine Council's meeting room, Naruto was glaring at the cowering form of another upstart that thought they could try and make decisions for him without permission. Suddenly, he got a sense of great pride. Using the Kajigan, he viewed the events connected to it. He then got a vicious grin which only got scarier as he watched. Cammy saw his expression. "What's up?" she asked, a bit nervous from the downright evil-looking grin on his face. He chuckled and shook his head. "I'll tell you later," he replied as he stomped on the now minor Lynx deity's tail as they tried to escape. He should definitely reward that cat with another jutsu when he gets back. For now, it's provided him with some ideas for dealing with this troublemaker. 2 weeks have passed since the Namikaze group had returned. Minato had been rejected when he tried to retake the Hokage position, having been deemed unfit to be Hokage since he was willing to abandon his eldest child. When he argued that he was the strongest person in the village, the council laughed in his face. They stated that as the ruler of the gods, Naruto was the strongest person in the village, not him. Kushina had gone to the friends she had before she left, only for that friendship to be denounced. Afterwards, she locked herself in her room, not coming out except for food. Maya's situation was complicated. She wasn't outright rejected, but she wasn't welcomed either. She hoped to make up to Naruto, but she couldn't find him. It was like he was avoiding her. The times she did see him, he would get a sad look in his eyes when he saw her. She remembered when he banished them from the clans. Flashback: 2 days after the announcement, Maya and the others were walking up to the gates of the Namikaze estate. She noticed that they looked different than her parents had described. Naruto had probably changed some things in their absence. She saw her father wipe some of his blood on the seals covering the gate and face-palmed. Even she knew that Naruto would have taken measures to prevent them from getting in, and yet, her father isn't worried? Does he still believe that Naruto would accept them? True to her thoughts, the seals did not deactivate. Instead, a burst of chakra was released, sending him into a tree several meters away. "Well now, I didn't think you would have the guts to show yourselves to me after seeing the villagers' reactions. They turned towards the voice to find Naruto sitting on the edge of the gate. He was glaring at them, although Maya could sense that the anger wasn't directed as badly at her. That was confusing, but she theorized that it had something to do with the way she was treated compared to the others. Naruto was livid. They had the gall to show up at his door even after seeing the consequences of their actions. Were they that arrogant? Jumping down, he decided to punish them himself. You have no right to be here. I, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the Jubi no Ukami, hereby banish you all from the Uzumaki, Namikaze and Senju clans, he shouted. Making several hand seals, he landed on an unfamiliar sign. Sealing Jutsu, Celestial Prison. A large sealing array appeared below each of them. The seals traveled up their bodies in the form of several foxes twisting and turning over their chakra networks. The sheer pain caused by the jutsu caused them to cry out in agony. What did you do? Kushina demanded. She had never heard of that sealing jutsu. I sealed off your bloodlines, but that isn't all the seal did, he explained. This sealing jutsu is a modified version of the one used in Hozuki Castle, better known as the Blood Prison. However, instead of restricting chakra and injuring anyone that used the jutsu while branded, this seal locks away a person's yin chakra. Bloodlines do not use yang chakra, instead it uses yin chakra to give it the missing component. For example, the Ai style of the Yuki clan is a mixture of wind, water, and yin elements. Without the yin chakra component, it becomes a watered-down imitation that is typically used in the land of snow. Without your yin chakra, you can't use your bloodlines. Sealing jutsu also happens using chakra, so the celestial prison prevents Minato from using the flying Raijin or Rasengan. It also stops Tsunade from using medical jutsu or the mitotic regeneration jutsu, both of which use yin chakra to speed up cell division. With this seal on Jiraiya, creating a counter seal is pointless, as he can no longer activate seals without his yin chakra. Everyone was horrified. He rendered them unable to use their specialties with just one jutsu. As Naruto left, having been called for a divine council meeting, Maya hung her head. However, when she looked down, her eyes widened. Her seal was a different design than the others. Flashback end. After analyzing the two sealing formulas, she determined that the seal placed on her had a trigger that would release it automatically. What that trigger was though, well, she could only speculate, but she had a feeling that she didn't want to find out. Bang! Riar! Shatter! Get back here, you demon! Crash! CAAA! What? Thud! She sweat dropped as she saw Kakashi fall into a hole that was beginning to emit tear gas. Looks like he is still trying to catch Tora. She had seen Naruto teaching it ninjutsu and how to make traps. Poor bastard probably never saw it coming. As she continued walking towards the apartment her parents bought, she saw someone on the ground. Upon closer inspection, she recognized the person as Sakura Haruno, one of her brother's former teammates. Maya cringed at the pool of blood under her. Was she Dash? Her thoughts were interrupted when Sakura abruptly woke. Sasuke! Where is he? Is he still here? We have to stop him from leave Dash. She passed out again. Maya was horrified by the extent of girl's wounds. As she rushed Sakura to the hospital, Maya had only one thought: oh, this can't be good. 30 minutes later. You too, huh? Naruto had just gotten back from training in the Forest of Death when an Anbu told him the Hokage was at the hospital and had an emergency mission that needed him immediately. When he got to the hospital, he found Shikamaru and Shino waiting for him. Yeah. It's a drag any way you slice it, but for two Chunin and a Jonin to be called, it has to be important. Shikamaru said in an unusually serious tone. Special Jonin. Naruto corrected. But yeah, this is no time to relax. Let's go. As they entered, Naruto tensed. Maya and Sakura were here. Great. The two people he wanted to avoid were going to be in the same room with him. However, he almost did a double take at their expressions. Sakura was in a cast and looked like she had just been told that she was going to be publicly executed. But it was Maya's expression that caused him to understand the severity of the situation. She looked betrayed. It was as if he was looking at himself the day he found out about Minato and Kushina. The look of Inuzumaki, whose world had just fallen apart. He didn't know why, but he felt angry that someone made her upset. He needed to sort out his feelings in regards to her when this is over. Who did this? His voice wasn't raised, but even the densest idiot in existence could tell he was furious at their condition, and both heard the underlying message. Tell me who hurt you so I can tear them apart. The Hokage stood up. At approximately 10:48 p.m. last night, Sasuke Uchiha attempted to kill Sakura. He began. The others gasped. Seeing Naruto's fur bristle as the young god began to put the pieces together, he quickly continued. Her parents interfered, but Sasuke wasn't alone. Shino finished. Yes, Sarutobi continued. Orochimaru's bodyguards, the Sound Ninja 4, were with him. The fight was escalating as Sakura ran, forcing them to retreat. Sakura managed to escape, but if Maya hadn't found her, she would have died from her wounds. Snap! Everyone turned to Naruto. He had gripped his metal training Bakken so hard that it broke. He said two words that sent chills down everyone's spines. Mangekyo Sharingan. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed. That meant that there was a fourth stage to the Sharingan. But what does it have to do with Dash? His eyes widened as he put the pieces together. It requires one to kill a friend to unlock that stage, doesn't it? Naruto nodded. There was silence for a minute as everything sank in before Naruto stood up. Turning towards the window, he spoke. I don't get along with you, Sakura. You're rash, weak, and mentally unfit to be a shinobi. Sakura hung her head. However, Sakura looked up at him again. You and I were teammates. We didn't get along then and we may never do so, but it didn't change the fact that we've been through a lot. Even if you refuse to admit it, Team 7 was a family. We trained together, laughed together, fought together, and bled together. Nothing will change that. I will stop him. Even if I have to kill him. Because Team 7 was family, and family looks out for each other. Everyone smiled. Even though Naruto is much different, one thing hasn't changed. He still cares about friends. Sakura looked him in the eyes. Thank you, Naruto. Naruto smiled. Shikamaru. Yeah. Shino. The bug user nodded. I will Irazi anyone who threatens those I consider family, and we have an Uchiha to hunt. Naruto looked upon the group assembled. He had ordered Shino and Shikamaru to get 3 of the remaining Konoha 12 each. Maya stood next to him. He understood that she felt Sasuke's betrayal could have been avoided if Minato and Kushina hadn't left. It showed her the extent of the damage that the villagers' favoritism and bias caused, hence her expression of betrayal back in the hospital. If Minato had stayed, not only would Naruto have had a family, but he could have kept the council in line. Shino had found Tenten, Lee and Niji, while Shikamaru found Choji, Kiba, and Hinata. He nodded. All right, I suppose you have all been informed of the situation? He asked. Everyone nodded. Good. He continued. Here is what we will do. Kiba, Niji, Hinata, you 3 are in front. Watch for traps and follow Sasuke's scent and chakra trail respectively. Shikamaru will be in the center with me and Lee. We will join any of the others if something gets too close. Choji will be right behind us, followed by Tenten. He'll cover Tenten while she uses her weapons to cover us. In the event of a fight, which there will no doubt be one, 2 members will split off and fight an opponent 2-on-1. He pulled out a scroll. Seeing the confused faces, he continued. This scroll contains what little info we have on our opponents. First is Jirobo of the South Gate. His specialty is hand-to-hand combat, which utilizes his high level of strength. Choji and Tenten will face him. Second is Kidamaru of the East Gate. He is from an old hidden grass village clan that utilizes a thread-like substance made of chakra. Niji and Hinata will face him as their gentle fist can sever the threads. Third is Sakan of the West Gate. I don't know much about him, so Kiba and Shino will fight. Shikamaru and Lee will face Tayuya of the North Gate. She is a genjutsu user. Maya and myself will deal with Sasuke. There is an unknown 5th member, but according to the intel, he died a day ago from a genetic lung disease. Everyone nodded. It was a good plan. All right, let's go. With that, everyone took off. 45 minutes later, with Sasuke, 5 shinobi were jumping through the trees, panting heavily. They had just come out of an unexpected fight with several jonin. "Let's stop here," Sasuke said. Sakan looked over at him. "Very well, we dash." He was cut off suddenly by a large sword embedding itself in the ground, coming dangerously close to beheading him. They all paled when they recognized it, especially Sasuke. He still had nightmares about the pain the blade caused. Kidamaru signaled to Sasuke to keep going. They would hold them off. He nodded and ran as fast as he could. The Sound Ninja 4 looked at their opponents. Kiba and Akamaru threw a paper bomb in the center of their group, causing them to split up to avoid the explosion. Shino and Kiba followed Sakan over a nearby cliff, while Choji and Tenten chased after Jirobo. Kidamaru quickly found himself on the business end of Niji and Hinata's combined 8 trigrams, air palm, sending him through several trees. Tayuya grit her teeth as Lee landed a solid punch to her chest when Shikamaru caught her with his shadow. Seeing each of the Sound 4 successfully occupied and separated, Naruto and Maya bolted after Sasuke. With Choji and Tenten, Jirobo swore. Their team was exhausted from fighting the group of Jonin, and now they have to deal with a bunch of Genin, 2 Chunin, and 1 Jonin. Special Jonin, he idly noted while dodging a hail of kunai. If they had gotten time to rest, this wouldn't be a problem, but the surprise attack prevented it. Choji took advantage of the distraction and gathered his chakra. Expansion Jutsu! His body swelled up like a balloon and began spinning like a wheel. Seeing this, Tenten, who had been keeping his attention on her using her weapons, jumped back. Jirobo was confused, but quickly paled at the house-sized sphere speeding towards him. He had been so busy avoiding Tenten's attacks that there was no time to dodge. Human boulder! BM, Choji crashed into Jirobo, sending him flying. Tenten threw several paper bombs at the helpless form of Jirobo, not wanting him to rebound from Choji's attack. The tags exploded above him, causing the resulting shockwave to send Jirobo downwards, while Choji channeled all of his chakra into his right fist. Just as Jirobo hit the ground, Choji lashed out. An audible crunch was heard as Jirobo's skeletal structure was crushed, killing him instantly from the shards that tore up his vital organs. A 16-foot-wide crater was created from the impact, a testament to the strength of the punch. The 2 leaf shinobi nodded to each other before heading off in the direction Sasuke ran. With Niji and Hinata, Kidamaru was furious. Normally he enjoyed a good fight, but he was exhausted and losing ground quickly. The pair of Hyuga were beating him like he was an academy student for Kami's sake. In heaven, Kami sneezed as her shadow clones were signing paperwork. Someone's talking about me. I hope it's Naruto," she mused. She really needed to thank him for helping her deal with paperwork. Back with Niji and Hinata, Kidamaru swung a sword made of his threads at Hinata. Niji used the body flicker to intercept him and started spinning. Rotation! Crack! Kidamaru's weapon shattered on contact with the spinning dome of chakra. Niji stopped spinning and took a stance. Lashing out at his opponent, he struck several of Kidamaru's chakra points. Hinata took advantage of Kidamaru's plight and charged her right leg with chakra. Kidamaru let out a girly screech and started foaming as she gave him a first-hand experience as to why Sasuke was unable to reproduce. Niji cringed. Despite them being enemies, he couldn't help but pity Kidamaru. Naruto's sadistic side had clearly rubbed off on his cousin as she was still kicking him repeatedly. Deciding to grant him some form of mercy, he struck the back of Kidamaru's head, shutting down the Sound Ninja's mind permanently. Hinata pouted as they headed towards Sasuke. She had wanted the man to suffer more for making Naruto angry. Niji's sweat dropped at his cousin's expression. Yep. Naruto definitely rubbed off on her. With Shikamaru and Lee, Tayuya cursed repeatedly. This was a nightmare. She had lost her flute in the ambush, and the shadow user had her trapped. The weird green kid with the big eyebrows, she swore she saw them move on their own, was beating her mercilessly. Shikamaru decided to end it. Signaling for Lee to back off, he placed his hands in the bird hand seal and shouted, "Shadow Stitching Jutsu!" The shadows rose up and impaled her. Knowing that she was dying, she mouthed something to them. Shikamaru's eyes widened. With Kiba and Shino, unlike the others, Kiba and Shino weren't doing so well. Sakan turned out to be two people in one. Sakan had somehow tried to merge with Kiba's body, and would have succeeded if Shino hadn't engulfed Yukon, Sakan's other half, in poisonous insects. This forced him to let Kiba go. The two then proceeded to activate their curse marks. This made them immune to Shino's insects, as they dropped dead upon eating the vile chakra of the seals. Kiba attempted to separate them, but was blocked by their Rashomon. Damn! Got any ideas? Kiba asked, still smarting from his collision with the demonic gate. That thing was definitely tough. Shino shook his head. His bugs were useless against them. Kiba wasn't strong enough to hurt them, and that massive wall was not falling anytime soon. Wait, falling? Shino's eyes widened. Kiba, what happens when you bump into a fence that is no longer attached to the ground? He asked. Kiba caught on and got a viscous grin. Shino idly noted that it was too much like Naruto's for his comfort. Kiba and Akamaru gathered their chakra while Shino sent his bugs into the ground. Ninja art! Man-beast transformation! Two-headed wolf! Kiba shouted as he and Akamaru merged into a 2-story tall wolf with multiple heads. Shino nodded to them as his bugs finished loosening the ground beneath the gate. The combined master and partner jumped forward while spinning. Wolf Fang over Fang! The makeshift tornado crashed into the gate. No longer rooted to the ground, it began to fall backwards. Sakan and Yukon watched helplessly as their own defense was turned against them. The size of the gate meant that there was no escape. As the gate collapsed, ending the twins' lives, Sakan and Yukon muttered something. Kiba and Shino gave a moment of silence. They both heard what the brothers had said. Even in the end, they stood by each other's side. Had they not been with Orochimaru, those two could have been great friends. As they headed in Sasuke's direction, they vowed to end Orochimaru for tainting such pure souls.